Mina the Hollower is my Hollow Knight Silksong. I was instantly sold when Yacht Club Games announced their newest title in 2022. They make quality games. Despite having no nostalgia for the NES, I thought Shovel Knight and its expansions were excellent. A perfect blend of retro elements and modern design sensibilities. So for them to reveal on Kickstarter a top-down action-adventure game in the style of the Game Boy Color, a console I grew up with, I had to back it on the spot. Then, the following month, I had the privilege of winning the Mina the Hollower art contest with a little audio drama that I wrote and produced. 2 years later, I pitched an animation to help promote the game, and now, after waiting 4 years with some unexpected delays along the way, the game is releasing, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to get to review it early. Needless to say, I feel personally connected with this game's hotly anticipated release, in more ways than one. But after such a long wait, does playing this game live up to the high expectations set up for it? Yes. Yes, it does. Let's get into it. We'll start with presentation. The people at Yacht Club Games have already proven to be incredibly competent at their retro craft, and Mina is no exception. Every sprite and screen is chunky, pixel art perfection, and it somehow pulls off being a great Game Boy homage while still having a really distinct art style of its own. The developers pulled it off by setting intentional limitations for themselves, with specific pixel counts and color palettes, and I highly recommend this post where they discuss these choices at length. I'll link to it in the description. Mina will be available on almost all platforms, but I recommend playing it on a handheld, such as Steam Deck, Switch, Switch 2, or PlayStation Portal, I guess. In my opinion, seeing the game blown up on a big 65-inch screen doesn't quite do the game's art justice. I ended up playing it on the Switch Lite, and that felt just about perfect, with its crisp, smaller screen and a D-pad for more precise platforming. I will also say that YCG really committed to telling a gothic horror tale. The game is still very cute, and I think appropriate for almost all ages, but I do commend the team for being tonally consistent throughout. This may just become my new spooky October game each year. Now, like any good action-adventure, Mina has a simple structure. Reactivate the 6 spark generators on Tenebrous Isle. To my understanding, you can reach most of the main objectives in any order, but the game will naturally guide you to take on certain generators before others. For my first go-around, I couldn't quite figure out how to reach certain areas, so I just went where the game took me. But as I progressed, my knowledge of the game's mechanics and overall geography of the world improved, as did my expanding arsenal of sidearms and trinkets, allowing me to eventually pick just about any direction and head that way. One of the things I value most in any game is exploration, and the world of Mina the Hollower is sprawling, packed to the brim with secrets. Despite each screen being really compact with chunky grid-based tiles, there's quite a lot to explore and get sucked into. I spent a huge amount of time just in the central hub city of Osix, trying to unearth each little secret and side quest. This was one of the things I was impressed with that I didn't really expect going in. So many well-hidden extra treasures to find all over. And it feels very rewarding to intentionally or accidentally stumble into one. Like the also excellent recent release Pragmata, this game constantly teases you by showing collectibles that it can't reach yet. I love that design choice, as it fills me with a constant need to uncover every corner of the map till I find that one secret entrance. Let's talk about combat, because while this game may look like a classic Legend of Zelda game, where I'd argue combat is secondary to puzzle design, here it's the main focus. And considering the limitations of being a top-down Game Boy style game, I think their implementation of combat is just about as perfect as it can get. They nailed the movement. It's very satisfying to have a dedicated button for jumping and burrowing underground, which you use to dodge and weave and reposition yourself around enemies. And each of the 5 main weapons are really fun and distinct from each other, especially when you unlock upgrades for them. Sprites flash when you deal or take damage, providing satisfying feedback. And even though animations are simple, enemy attacks are very readable. Everything feels intentionally designed to have a push and pull, risk and reward. The whip has good range, but has a small pause before it goes off, meaning you have to anticipate the enemy movement and be smart where you aim it. Healing vials require being aggressive with enemies, building up a temporary yellow plasma meter with each hit that can be transformed into health if you're able to uncork your vial without getting interrupted. These design choices lead to exhilarating, edge-of-your-seat encounters. Now, some enemies and bosses definitely gave me trouble, while others I positively steamrolled, but in both cases, I was having a blast taking them on. It's not Dark Souls or Hollow Knight levels of difficulty, but Mina is a demanding game. It's one of those games where even the weakest enemies can kill you pretty easily, especially when you get pushed into a pit after not paying attention. I died quite a lot in my playthrough, but notably, I never felt like I hit any walls. Each death left me invigorated to try again. And even if I had felt stuck, there's a myriad of really great accessibility settings available. You can adjust the game speed and damage, but you can also make little tweaks that keep the challenge intact. For example, you can have the game create more checkpoints, which I think is the perfect compromise of lessening frustration without negating the intended combat experience. Another thing that helps with the game's difficulty is the progression. Once you've leveled up a few times and unlock more trinkets, you have more options at your disposal to approach each scenario. Trinkets in particular are by far the most fun collectible in the game. Several of them feel broken in the best way. One lets you burrow into walls, and another gives you an air dash, which are both complete game changers. Others give you fun new offensive abilities, such as leaving an acid trail behind when you're digging. And while I admittedly mostly stuck to simpler quality of life choices, like a magnet to collect bones and another that lets you heal faster, it was always super exciting to find a new one and try it out. Plus, with the game supporting a randomizer, I'm kinda looking forward to being forced to use specific ones on future runs. At this point, I think it's safe to say that I'm a fan of Mina, but just like any game, I did have a couple minor gripes. While the accessibility settings are impressive, and I really appreciate them, the demanding default difficulty may be a little too high for me to recommend this game to anyone not experienced in this kind of genre. It's also the tiniest thing, but I wish the options for rebinding controls included buttons for navigating the menus. I kept accidentally drinking vials when trying to talk to NPCs. I got used to it though, and honestly, I don't have any complaints beyond that. Yacht Club has delivered their best game yet, and it's incredibly solid, through and through. Mina the Hollower is much more than a throwback to the Game Boy. I'd say it's even much more than an action-adventure game. It's a big, ambitious, spooktacular retro experience with challenging combat, tons of secrets, lots of collectibles, great accessibility options, and an absurd amount of replay value with lots of modifiers and changing conditions for each New Game Plus. I loved my initial playthrough, and despite being someone who doesn't replay many games, I know I'm gonna love this one for many years to come. It won't click for everyone, but for me, this is a 5-star premium game. Absolutely worth the $20 steal of a price tag. Thank you for leveling with me. I'm giving away a free copy of Mina the Hollower for Steam or Switch and Switch 2. So, if you're interested, all you have to do is subscribe, comment below what you think of the game, and click the giveaway link in the description. See you later.